As much as it scares me, it's the anxiety of like, do you want to live like that? We have to basically imprison ourselves in this like electric fencing.
Nonsense,
It is though.
We have a 260 hectare farm that we live on.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today I thought we would do a Q&A. What was that?
Bird.
Oh, because there has been a lot in the media about South Africa at the moment. Well, for us there has been. And yeah, I thought we'd just do a quick Q&A on what we feel it's like living in this country. Okay, you want to ask a question first?
What is it like raising a child in South Africa?
That's a really big one. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I only just realized for the first time that your ring actually has the word love engraved there.
Yeah. It's because it's a Cartier love ring.
I didn't know that.
Something.
Okay, sorry, that was
Anyway.
way off topic. It's a great country for, like, in the terms of, like, having family here and stuff, and the education's really good, and, like, the bush is here, and there are a lot of animals, and I think in the term of, like, nature, it's really great. It's like you can go on hikes on the weekends, you can, like, really be outdoors, which for us is, like, really important. But, like, there's obviously a negative to it, which is, like, the crime, and, like, how there's not a lot of, like, freedom. Like, your children can't just walk to school. They can't, like, catch the bus anywhere. They can't really do anything on their own, like, until they literally get a driver's license. You can't go anywhere on your own as a child. And I think that's, like, a really big negative. I think that covers about it for that question.
For my positive about living in South Africa, it's the root of where we're all from.
For raising a child.
There's a feeling of being home irrespective of where you're from, because it's Africa. I feel like when you get here, there's this innate sense of this is where we belong, how we belong, and how we live. Family comes first. You socialize and you celebrate every small moment. You're grateful, you work hard, you need to be in the, there's bush, there's animals, there's just such a sense of being in touch with God in this country. I feel Earth
It's a great
in the
community.
world looks
Great sense
at
of community,
things,
I think,
or feels,
maybe,
yeah.
is part of it.
That couldn't just have happened by itself. It's a miracle kind of country. I don't know, but it could be my own.
Way you see it,
Yeah,
maybe. Think it's very dependent, like.
Patriotic.
Okay, well, let's get to a different question, because that was like a 5-minute question. How does crime in South Africa affect us?
Very limited.
I think okay, so let me put it to you this way. We are so fortunate. Like, we live in a beautiful security estate with, like, it's in fence, there are animals, like, we live a very protected life. Last month, we had 5 break-ins where people stole TVs and a couple of other things, which for us was like, oh my goodness. But I think we don't even feel a fifth of the extent of what crime really is in this country, especially if you're not living in a place like this. Maybe if you're living in town, it's very different. However, I do think that we do feel that underlying anxiety of what crime could be, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, there is an anxiety every day of, like, and when I stop at the stop street, is my car going to get hijacked? Is my child going to get taken? And whatever.
As much as what you say that, so Louisa and I disagree on this point all the time, because
but it
I
happens all the
understand
time.
her point of view, but in the town we live in, it's not a major city centre where it's happening on a daily basis.
I think we're very protected, but there are other people who feel it a lot more than we do, especially if it's a little bit outside of the center of town and, like, more rural areas. Like, things happen all the time that we just don't hear about. So I think the crime is really bad.
Yeah, it is.
But
we're talking about how we see it.
How we see it.
We can't speak for those people. Don't agree then. Like, it's that simple. I'm not going to just agree
on
with
the
you for your
crime
video.
topic, what do you feel like? Wait, let's just wait for the truck to go past for our video. Okay, let me put it this way. This is a different question. How serious is crime in this country? Like, all types of crime, from, like, petty theft to, like, homicide, murder.
Very hectic.
You know, hijacking. I mean, I think it happens a lot. It happens often, I think.
Yeah, it
Doesn't
happens
always
often,
end in
but
the
we're very
person getting
protected in
killed, but
our own personal capacity. So I can't really speak on behalf of those people. Like, yeah, crime here is very hectic.
but to us it's only been like petty theft. Like when Ava was not born yet, I think I was about 36 weeks pregnant. We weren't living in this house yet. They broke into our house at about 11:30 at night, stole our TV while we were in the house. Lucky our bedroom door was locked and everything, and the alarm went off. What?
You're so dramatic.
But it's a serious thing.
I
like,
know, yeah, it's a
they
serious thing,
could
but you're
have
like,
done
luckily,
something.
like, the door was locked. Like, I've lived in this country so long.
I know.
And I've only been broken into a total of twice in my entire life. Stole a TV and ran away. Like,
They weren't there to hurt us.
it's part of a syndicate group, as in any part of the world, where there's organized crime and they use these vulnerable people that have drug addictions and are poor to steal so that they can keep up those addictions or so that they can pay and feed their families. I think it's in the minority. I mean, I look at farm murders, which was a big issue last year. I didn't even account for 10% of the murders in this country, but a big hoo-ha was made out of it because it affected the privileged individuals that live in this country.
So I think the majority of the crime, the really bad crime where, you know...
Happens in rural areas where people are in
They're
poverty,
really
where people are
struggling,
vulnerable.
like-
Never in my life in living in this country have I ever walked into a
police-
police station and been able to feel like I'm safe. I feel more
Personally,
attacked and offended by the police station when I walk in
Yeah.
there than what I do walking out on the street with all the criminals.
When I was studying, we had a module which is called criminology, and we, you know, had to look over cases and things, and
Louisa,
we were
just so
shown...
those who don't know, Louisa studied in South Africa. So.
I studied here, exactly. That a lot of the time when you go to report a case such as rape or something, you're often like re-victimized because of how you're treated at the police station. Like as a female, I don't feel safe going to the police station on my own majority of the time. I wouldn't go there to report a case. Like that's why we have our like outside
Private
security
yeah.
to come and take care of us, because I just wouldn't go to the police station.
Yeah, they're arrogant, they're rude.
It's terrible.
They're
They make you
lazy.
feel awful a lot of the time, or like they subject you as a female. I know, like I've had people like speak to me in inappropriate ways or look at me in inappropriate ways, and that should not be how the police station makes you feel. Like you should be safe. And my heart especially goes out for the people that are in those rural areas, because on a daily, you know, children go missing, and where we are, it's very close to Mozambique, and you know there's a lot of child trafficking going on,
Swaziland, yeah.
drug trafficking going on, and it's a really big issue. The other day, a little girl from Joburg was taken out of her mother's arms.
So many girls in rural areas that are not as privileged as this girl to get the voice that all the
Media.
country and the media attention that are not even being found.
You can see we're obviously like very passionate about, or you're very passionate about it. I can like
Yeah, of
tell.
course.
A lot of it, I think, comes down to education. Like the stuff that's getting taught in communities and stuff is the old way of thinking. It's like, how do you change that if
Yeah.
it's so like ingrained into the society where children are getting raised? You know what I mean?
100%.
Like
And
there is
teaching
so
your
much
child, you know,
violence in
that-
the home that's what people are being brought up as
Yeah.
normal, and I think that's the issue.
And it starts with smacking your kid according, you know, my understanding is
Something
if I
so
can
simple as
smack my
spanking your
daughter,
child.
if I spank my daughter,
What is
how does she not think that it's okay for her husband to smack her?
A terrible, terrible situation.
Politicians
And I think we
pack
could
more
talk about
money
this
into their
literally
pockets,
forever.
and the poor, vulnerable people are the ones who really, their lives don't improve almost at all.
But then again, here we are climbing up that social ladder, so-called.
But we're making a difference at the same time.
We're
We're trying to
trying.
help people. We're trying to improve people's standard of living. We're trying to better and upskill people that work for us. You know, we're trying to support them. We're trying. I don't have to be poor. I don't have to struggle so that other people can have a better life than me. I'm allowed to achieve. I'm allowed to succeed. I'm allowed to have the reward of my hard work. But at the same time, not to be naive and stupid to what's happening in the world, and to do my part to
Yeah.
help those people that are vulnerable and struggling.
Would you ever consider moving countries?
Not because
Not
of
because of the
that.
crime. I'm just saying with
I think the only
whole
thing that would really
situation.
make me move a country is just an opportunity to see the world, really. Like, I believe that every country has its crap. Like, I look at the UK, I look at Australia, look at America.
Definitely.
I
have
don't know what the hell
spoken
you're basing that on.
to a lot of people who have moved, and they say like they've newly moved like the last 1 to 3 years, because we know quite a few people who have moved,
Yeah, a lot.
and they say like they don't regret it at all. They feel way safer, even though there is still crime. I think it's a different type of crime. The complete anxiety that you feel here regarding crime is not the same as it is over there, as much as there are bad things that happen all over the world. But would we move? It's
Okay,
so
but you're
hard
basing
to
that
say.
only on crime. Like, that's only crime.
But I guess like what it comes down to is like there is so much crime.
So it's literally only
but like our
if
standard
there
of
was
living
no
is
crime or corruption,
yeah.
would you move?
I think it's really different for me because I actually have family overseas, and so another part of that is like I miss them. Like I miss them so much, and like I'm gonna try not to cry. What?
He's so funny.
It's hard. It's
I
hard
know
being
it
away
is,
from your
but
family.
it's funny because I laugh at that moment because it's so true. Like, you would know that in your heart and your mind for all the time, but as soon as you say it out loud, don't you find it
It's like
funny
you wanna
how it?
cry.
Yeah,
It's
I
so-
laugh at
so
myself
silly.
about stuff like that all the time.
But so for me, it's different to how it is for you. 'Cause this is your home. This is where you grew up. I have family overseas and people that I miss, and I want to go and allow Ava to have a closer relationship with them and experience the way of life that I had when I was growing up. So for me, I
at
would
the
move.
same time, though,
I think I would move. I
I
don't
agree.
know.
At the same
It's
time,
hard.
though, family life in those countries is so different. The close knitness of a family in South Africa, and I'm speaking
Yeah.
generally speaking from my experience, from people I know, is so different to those countries. You still almost live your own life.
Family is so important here to people.
Yeah, and it's
It's a
not only
family
important,
country.
but it's so close. You're so close. You share so much more. You're so much more involved in each other's lives. Their
Some people
households.
don't like that though.
Some people don't, but it's also because they're not maybe used to it. If I could put it that way.
Maybe. It took
I
me a
don't know
long
anyone
time to get
who's-
used to it.
who's-
Really, it
who-
did.
Who is close to their family that doesn't like that. Like, it just brings so much advantage into your
it's
life.
really nice. That's like one thing is like if we
the
did move
support
away one
system.
day or whatever, depending on the circumstances, like
And it's not
that
that,
would
it's
be something really
inferior
hard.
parenting or family, not at all. Like, I think
it's not. What did you say?
it's an inferior type of parenting or anything. Like, Louisa's mom and dad are
Oh,
great,
inferior.
like absolutely amazing parents, and they help us and they support us and they love us. Not done. I don't know.
But we
it's
live
just
next
not
to your
done.
family. Like it's very different when you see someone on a daily basis. You build that relationship. It doesn't just come when you see each other once a year, which is sadly the
True.
reality for me and my
Hmm.
what is it, biological family that I grew up with, like my brother and my parents and stuff. I don't get to see them all the time because I decided to move countries, and I think that's difficult because then you don't get to build that relationship.
True.
So on that note, like we don't really know what's going to happen for the future. Who knows? It also depends on your work. If something
like,
comes up, like
I
it's
think
so
like
hard.
God has such a big plan for us. Like, I believe that
It's stressful,
I
though.
believe in that saying, we make plans and God laughs. You know, like
Yeah, it's all in His plan. Like
whatever
we
we
can
do,
plan
I just
all
go
we
with
want.
it and pray.
I
And
mean,
ask,
who
what
knows?
should we
Maybe
do?
we'll be here forever. Maybe God tells us like, you know, next year you guys are going to move, or like maybe it's only in 10 years, or maybe it's not going to be at all. Like we just have no idea. But right
You know,
now,
I feel
we're
like-
not running away. Like we don't want to run away from
Yeah.
the crime. As much as it scares me, it does at night. I do think about it.
But we're so fortunate.
But-
I mean, we have literally got a roaming armed guard in the property we live in, that when we push that panic or when the alarm
He'll
goes
come
off,
right
he's
here.
right here.
But
you
the
know?
thing is, like, it's the anxiety of, like, do you want to live like that? We have to basically imprison ourselves in this, like,
Such a
electric fencing.
nonsense, you know.
It is, though.
We have a 260 hectare farm that we live on that's infenced. 260
I know, okay.
hectare.
Like,
That is
it's really
massive.
beautiful. We are the luckiest people. Like,
It's
look at
gigantic.
look at the property.
You
I don't
cannot
know if
even
you can
see the fence from our house, and you say you live in a cage. Like,
No,
you're
I'm not
being
saying
dramatic,
we
you're
live in
being
a
maybe
cage.
Slightly ungrateful and unrealistic.
I'm just meaning, it's sad that you have to think like that. It's like you go to bed at night and you do worry. You know, you have to put
You
the
know what?
alarm on.
I worry more.
But we're very fortunate.
I worry more in these other countries that are so much more safe. I feel like it happens so much more. You know, in South Africa, I feel like the vulnerable individuals, young women, youth, that are maybe not as confident and empowered as we are in the position we're in. I feel like they get taken advantage of more. But I feel like in other countries, it's irregardless of your social standard or your well-being. You can go out one night and something could be done to you. Here, it's even though I know my wife cannot walk home, at the same time I know when she gets into her car, it's her car by herself and she's okay and she gets home to a safe home with security, with all that stuff. That puts my mind at ease. When I think of those other countries, I think she has to get on a train with a whole bunch of random people, or a tram, or a public bus, or in a taxi, and that makes me nervous. That makes me stress about how do I know what's happening to my wife while she's not with me or in her own safe space.
I don't know. I don't agree with you on that one so
But it
much.
also, that's exactly because you're used to that experience.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I've lived there, so I've feel
lived
the
here.
freedom that you
know
get out of it. It's very different.
the system, and I know what to look out for and all that. So I know, I know what to expect almost, and therefore when you know something, you feel secure with it. I think if I moved to another country where I had the same financial opportunity and standard of living, where my family could come, where people cared and had that spirit for life as much as here.
I mean, there is something really beautiful about this country. I know when my family come and visit, they say, like, people are so happy. Like, there are people struggling and they still walk around doing their job, like, with a smile on their face. Like, when you go through the streets, you see people talking to each other and they're laughing and children are dancing and people are just doing their best. So there is a beautiful side of this country too. Like, it's not just the crime. It's not a terrible country.
When things are easy in life, like those other countries, you take a lot for granted.
Yeah, like, people are happy here. It's not such
specifically
where we live. It's not such a rat race,
Wow, I need to make the most of this.
It's now the next day. I had a little issue with my camera. It lost battery, and then Vaughan had to go to work. And as you guys could probably see, like, we're both very passionate about this topic, and like Vaughan maybe a little bit more so, and he just really likes to voice his opinion, and we're not always on the same page. So I thought, let me just continue this video on my own today. He's at work, so I could just like kind of get my point across a little bit more, especially he really likes to talk a lot and I don't always get to say much. So what I wanted to say in like overall is like this country is really struggling, especially with poverty and with crime, not necessarily right where we live right now, and I don't personally, and my family doesn't exactly experience that, like even a fifth of what's going on in this country. It's more the rural settlements and the places where people don't even have running water or electricity and they can't afford to feed their families. That's where majority of the crime takes place. All this money is getting used for the wrong reasons or getting stolen or pocketed by people who are higher up, and it's not actually getting used for what it needs to get used for. On a little bit of a brighter note, this country is really beautiful, and do we want to leave? Vaughan and I are on very different sides of that question. Coming from a first world country where I didn't experience this sort of fear and anxiety for safety and all of that, I personally feel like I would like to live in a different country for that reason, because it does give me a lot of anxiety. Whenever I go somewhere with Ava, I get anxious. And you just have to really be cautious. It's obviously not always like that. Sometimes I feel very content with where we are and I feel safe going somewhere, and other times I guess it depends on my emotions and what's been happening in the media and in the town and stuff. I don't feel as safe. And for me personally, I would like to go somewhere. What's holding me back though is definitely family on this side, the beautiful lifestyle that we have, the incredible friends that we've made, and also education, and just this Christian community is so beautiful that we have here at the moment. The landscape's incredible, being able to live in the nature. There are so many positives. We are very privileged the way that we live, but still I find I don't feel as safe as I would like to feel, and having to, make sure that alarms are set in the evenings and the electric fences are on around the outside of the property and stuff, and that the fence isn't broken. That does cause me a lot of anxiety. But this is a beautiful country, for sure. I love where I am right now in terms of being able to be a stay-at-home parent. Well, I actually do work 3 days a week now, half day while Ava's at school. But it's just an incredible lifestyle, other than the fact that, you know, you can't walk anywhere or ride your bike anywhere. Those are negatives for sure. But yeah, Vaughan and I just feel really different about these topics. Like, it's his country and he feels so at home here. So I do understand that he loves it, and the way that he feels about the country is very different to the way that I feel about it. As much as I do love it, like, I do miss my home a lot, and that obviously plays a big role in the way that we answer these kinds of questions. But I don't know how much you guys are actually going to get out of this video. I hope it gives you a little bit of an insight about what's going on here and what our lifestyle is like and what's actually happening in the country, although we are not as informed as I wish we were, or me personally. But yeah, I hope this helped someone. Oh, please let me know down below where you live in the world, what the crime is like in the world, what the lifestyle is like. I would really like to know. Even if you live in South Africa and you're watching this, what is it like in the town that you live in? And how do you feel? Do you feel safe where you live? I'd really like to know, so please do let me know down below in the comments, and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll check you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.